Hi everyone, welcome to this video. I'm Nicky Ellul. I'm a fitness instructor with a strong background in sports, ranging from martial arts to running, obstacle course racing, and mountaineering. My climbing experience spans from the Alps, Caucasus, Tanzania, and Himalayas. In this video, I want to guide you on how to structure the ideal training regime for your next adventure, whether it's a 20-kilometer hike or attempting to summit Kilimanjaro. But before we start, just a quick word of caution. Consult your doctor before beginning any new exercise program, especially if you have any medical condition, if you're pregnant, or if you have been inactive for quite some time. And now that that is out of the way, let's get into it. So, the video will be divided into a few main components, which are cardio, muscular, balance, and recovery. And we'll start with cardio. So, cardio is your body's ability to efficiently deliver oxygen to your muscles during sustained activity, like hiking or mountaineering, which is exactly what we want to do. I won't go into any scientific detail in this video, I'll keep it very basic. The idea is for you to know how to structure a training program and the basis of why we do certain things. Now, when it comes to cardio, there is one main metric which is important, which is the heart rate. How many beats per minute our heart is beating during the activity. And an important metric is the maximum heart rate. So here you can see the formula. The maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. Now, this is a very rough estimate. You can do better than that. Ideally, you would go to a lab and have a test, but I understand that is expensive and not everyone has access to such a lab. Or your fancy sports watch should be able to compute it for you, and both those will give you a better estimate than this rough figure from the formula. The formula works better for people who are not athletes. If you're an athlete, the formula tends to deviate a bit from your maximum heart rate, and your maximum heart rate can be higher than what the formula states. So in my case, for example, I'm 43 years old, so 220 minus 43 would be 177, but in reality my maximum heart rate is over 190. But if you have no access to nothing, stick to that. Now, once we know the maximum heart rate, we can have a look into the heart rate zones. There are 5 heart rate zones, starting from 1, which is very light, and going up to 5, which is really, really hard. And how do we gauge these heart rates? Simply by the percentage of the maximum heart rate. So you have level 1 at 50 to 60% of your heart rate, and you keep going up to level 5, reaching a maximum of 90 to 100%. Now, let's start with cardio zone 2. Cardio zone 2 is crucial for hiking. Why? Hiking, especially long or multi-day hikes, is an endurance activity. It's not a sprint. It's something that lasts very long. And zone 2 exercise, so exercising at a heart rate at zone 2, really builds endurance. Zone 2 training focuses on your aerobic system. Aerobic system is the primary energy system, is the energy system which delivers oxygen to your muscles during sustained activity. Now, how much training do you need at zone 2? Approximately 70 to 80% of your total training for hiking and mountaineering should be spent in zone 2. So really the majority of your training will be in zone 2. This ratio allows you to build the endurance, but also leaving space for higher level activities in zone 3 and 4, which we will see in a short while. How do you know whether you are exercising in zone 2 or not? We will look at 3 metrics for all the zones. The first one is the talk test. At zone 2, you should be able to carry a conversation very comfortably. You feel that you're exercising, but you're not out of breath and you can speak comfortably. By using the other metric is by using your heart rate monitor. And if you don't have a watch with a heart rate monitor, I would really suggest getting one. Nowadays, there are models that are quite cheap, so it's within everyone's budget, I would say. And knowing your heart rate during activity is really important and can make the difference between how fast you will progress. So if we're looking at the heart rate at zone 2 should be between 60% and 70% of your maximum heart rate. So for example, for a 30-year-old, it would be 220 less 30. So 190 is the maximum heart rate, and then 60 or 70% of that. The other metric is what is known as the perceived effort. Perceived effort ranges from 1, which is basically doing almost nothing, to 10, which is all out, you're about to die and you want to stop. Zone 2 sits at a level of 4 to 5. It is steady, but sustainable. You can feel that you can go for long. So, what are common pitfalls with zone 2 exercising? The first one, and which I am also guilty of, is going too hard too often. Zone 2 is quite light, and you might feel that you are not pushing too much. So you instinctively start pushing to zone 3. Try to avoid that, because it's really zone 2 that builds the endurance that we need for hiking and mountaineering. And the other pitfall is that you might neglect rest days. You say, yeah, I'm exercising at zone 2, it's not too hard, I can do it every day. No, rest days are equally important even if you're exercising at zone 2. Also because in this program, we will exercise at zone 3, at zone 4. So what are some activities suggested for zone 2 training? Brisk walking. So if you're running on a flat surface, if you're walking on a flat surface, you need to go quite fast because walking is easy, that is typically at zone 1, so to push into zone 2, you need to go at a brisk pace. Hiking at a steady pace is automatically putting you at zone 2. Cycling, as long as you keep it within that range, and many cardio machines at the gym like the rower, the elliptical trainer, the spinning bike. Adjust the resistance and the revs per minute that you're putting in so that you are in zone 2. Swimming is also a very good activity for zone 2 training, but be sure that you are able to swim for a long period of time, because the benefits of zone 2 training come from exercising for an extended period of time. In my case, for example, my swimming technique is not good enough, so I cannot use swimming for zone 2 training. And now we move to zone 3, so the next step, which is called the tempo zone. So why is zone 3 important for hiking? So zone 3 improves stamina and strength. It is great for building muscular endurance and also cardiovascular endurance. So for example, what we need when hiking uphill or at a faster pace. And zone 3 bridges the gap between the easy zone 2, which we are looking at, and the harder zone 4, which we will look at next. Now we go a little bit into the science, but I'll keep it very simple. Zone 3 increases what is known as the lactate threshold. So what is lactate threshold? When you are exercising, the body breaks down the glucose in your muscles. The glucose is the fuel reserves in your muscles. And the body is breaking them down to turn them into energy. Whilst doing this, a byproduct is created, this lactate, and the body builds up this lactate, and it makes you feel the muscle fatigue and that burning sensation in your muscles. It is not so simple and maybe not as precisely not as I said it, but for our scope, this is what we need to know. Lactate buildup is something we want to avoid or push further on into the exercise, so we want to push it. And zone 3 exercising helps us to push this lactate threshold. So it helps us to feel it at a later stage because it teaches the body to get rid of that lactate faster than the body is building it up. So fatigue sets in at a later stage. How much zone 3 training do we need? Not a lot. It's a small proportion, so it's 10 to 20% of your total training time, so that you're not too tired and can do a lot of zone 2 training. How do we know that we are in zone 3? The talk test. You can still talk, but breathing becomes faster and heavier. So you might not be able to have a complete conversation. You will need to stop every now and then to catch your breath. The heart rate monitor, it will show you between 70 and 80% of your maximum. And on the perceived effort scale, now we are at 6 to 7. So it's hard, but it's comfortably hard. We can sustain it for a good 40 minutes. And the more you exercise, you'll be able to sustain it for longer periods. What are common pitfalls? Don't spend too much time in zone 3. Do zone 3 training when you're supposed to do zone 3 training. and make sure zone 2 training is done at zone 2. And what are suggested activities for zone 3 training? Sustained uphill hiking, hiking with a heavy backpack, marching uphill on the treadmill, or again, any of the cardio machines at the gym, but increasing the resistance and the effort you're putting in so that you push yourself to zone 3. Stair climbing is also a very good zone 3 activity. And now we move to cardio zone 4, which is known as the lactate threshold zone. So why is zone 4 crucial for hiking? It pushes your body and helps you to adapt to working at a higher intensity and also working above that lactate threshold we were describing before, and therefore it teaches your body to tolerate that threshold that lactate buildup better. Basically, fatigue will set in, but your body will get used to working with that fatigue. And for hiking and mountaineering, it gives you the ability to tackle harder terrain, like scrambling, and also to go faster. Let's say it's gonna get dark and you need to reach your destination, then you can push a bit. I hope you're still carrying a head torch, yeah, always when you go hiking. You never know if you get caught up. But if you need to go fast, zone 4 will help you do that. How much zone 4 training do I need? Zone 4 training should be done in short intervals because it's very demanding on your body, and it should make up a very small proportion of your training, around 10%, which would translate to 1 session per week. How do you know if you're in zone 4? The talk test? Now you can't talk. Now you can say a couple of words and need to catch your breath immediately. The heart rate monitor will be showing you readings between 80 and 90% of your maximum heart rate. And on the perceived effort scale, now we are at a good 8 to 9. So it's not completely maxed out, but we're working very hard and we cannot sustain it for any long duration. Pitfalls that we should avoid. So first of all, zone 4 training is not for beginners. If you're a beginner, do not do any 4 zone training until you have built up exercising in zone 2 and zone 3. Once you feel comfortable with your zone 3 trainings, then slowly start introducing zone 4 training. I know everyone wants to push, there is this desire to push, but pushing too early can lead to injury and then set you back. So take it easy, build up a strong foundation and then include zone 4 training. And recovery is key. Zone 4 is very intense, so make sure to schedule adequate recovery and rest after zone 4 sessions. What are suggested activities to push ourselves into zone 4? Hill repeats. So we find a steep hill, we either run or hike up really fast, maybe with a heavy backpack, and then we come down slow. Also, always make sure you are adequately warmed up before engaging into zone 4 training. We can do running intervals. So again, you warm up and then you run for 2-3 minutes, pushing at zone 4, and then you either walk or jog for 2 to 3 minutes to recover. And then you repeat this for 3 to 5 times. And for any of the activities, this is the basic workout for a zone 4 session. A good 10-minute to 15-minute warm-up, 2 to 3 minutes pushing at zone 4, 2 to 3 minutes at zone 2 to recover, and you repeat this for 5 times, and then an adequate cool down combined with some stretching to help your muscles recover. Stair climbing with weight is also good for zone 4 training, and again, any of the cardio machines at the gym. The rowing machine especially is really good for zone 4 training. And now we move to the other aspect of the training regime, which is muscular. Now we're not looking at the energy system, but we're really looking at the muscles and how to improve our muscles. Now, when we discuss muscles, there are 2 aspects to how our muscles perform. There is endurance and there is strength. So, muscular endurance is your ability to perform repeated muscle contractions. So basically, to do something often. Let's say we have a water pump and we're pumping. It's easy, it's not very hard, but after a minute or 2, you start feeling the fatigue. So muscular endurance helps us to push into the future that fatigue and be able to pump for longer. In our case, we'll be hiking, so we will be able to hike for longer. Our legs mostly will get tired later. Now, to improve muscular endurance, the weight, the resistance should be quite low so that we can do between 12 and 20 repetitions. And we do 2 to 4 sets of each exercise. And the rest in between the exercise is 30 to 90 seconds. The load, like I said, should be light to moderate, so I would say 40 to 60% of your 1 rep max. Your 1 rep max basically is the heaviest weight or resistance on the machine that you can do for 1 repetition. And then you take 40 to 60% of that as a weight or resistance to be able to have enough repetitions for building up endurance. And then we have the other aspect, which is strength. Strength and power, I combine them, but they're a bit different. Let me explain. So strength is the ability of your body to generate maximal force. So now we're not pumping water, now we're trying to undo a nut with a lever, a rusty nut with a lever. So it's really hard, I grab it and I start pulling with all my strength. That is muscular strength, using a lot of force. Power is using a lot of force, but in a very short time, in an explosive manner. So instead, for example, of pulling or pushing this heavy lever slowly, now I'm trying to I have a big box and I want to throw it far, so I have to put a lot of strength, but in a very short time, so it's explosive. And for that we do special type of training as well to develop it. So to develop strength, and you might say, but in hiking you just said that we need endurance because we go for very long. Why do we need strength? We still need strength because when we reach some steep part where we need to scramble, or if you do the Everest base camp trek and you find those really steep steps, then each step is going to be quite hard and muscular strength will come in handy in those times. Or if you have a very heavy backpack, when you're moving loads from base camp to camp 1 and advanced camps and so on, there muscular strength helps. So to target muscular strength, now we're looking at a higher load, so 75 to 90% of our 1 rep max. And of course, because it's heavier, we do less repetitions. So now we're looking at 3 to 8 repetitions. And we do 3 to 5 sets. The rest now are a bit longer because you're really pushing the muscles. So the rest is between 1.5 to 3 minutes. And now let's look at the different, let's say, parts of the body and how to target them. Let's start with the lower body, our legs. Just something I want to say. In this video, I will not show you the exercises, but in the future I will do a video where I do go through these exercises and show them to you. I also regularly upload shorts showing different workouts, so if you subscribe to my channel, you will be able to watch these shorts and eventually when I put up the video, explaining exactly how to do the workout. But otherwise this video would be too long, so I stick a bit to the foundations in this one. So I was saying about the lower body. Why is lower body power and strength and power and endurance important for hiking? Because it's our legs that take us for the hike. How do we improve the endurance or strength of our lower body? The main exercises are squats, and here you can use also a leg press, deadlifts, lunges, step-ups. Step-ups are really good at mimicking the action of stepping up when we're hiking. Glute bridge. The glutes are very important for hiking. You really use the glutes when hiking, and the glute bridge is one of the exercises that targets the glutes specifically well. And calf raises, because ultimately all the power that your big muscles in the thighs generate has to go through the calf to eventually push off the floor. Then we have the core. And when I say core, I'm not meaning just the abs. People tend to think about the abs as being the core. The abs form part of the core, but there are also the obliques on the side and the lower back. The lower back is equally important as the abs, especially in hiking when we have a load on our back. So why is it important to train our core? Because it gives us stability over uneven terrain. It improves our efficiency because it transfers the power from our lower body to our upper body. It enables us to carry heavy packs, and when going uphill or downhill, the core has to be engaged to keep us upright. So, which exercises are ideal for building up our core? We have the plank and then variations of it, crunches and sit-ups, the suitcase carry, which is like a farmer's carry but with the weight only on one side, so it's pulling on one side and it makes your obliques work, and back hyperextensions, either on the floor like the Superman and so on, or on the Roman chair, maybe also with some weights. And now we move to the upper body. It's true, the upper body doesn't get a lot of work in hiking, unless we're mountaineering and climbing something like Matterhorn or Madablan. Here you can watch my shorts about those. But the upper body is equally important. First of all, to balance your body. You wouldn't want massive legs, a nice six-pack, and then weak arms. So you need to be balanced. But also, having a strong upper body will help you when scrambling, will help you with the walking sticks, and is also helpful to transfer the weight from your backpack to your core and eventually to your legs. So how do we train the upper body? We start with the back, which is one of the biggest muscles in the upper body, actually the biggest muscle in the upper body. And the back is worked by doing pulling exercises. So things like the lateral pull down, the seated row, and so on. Then we move to the chest and the shoulders, where we work them with pushing exercises. So we have the chest press, the push-up, everyone knows the push-up, the military press, and the Arnold press. There are many others, but these are the basics. And then we have what are known as accessory exercises. These help small muscles which are usually neglected. So things like the face pull to target the rear deltoids, which are very prone to injury. And then to work a bit the arms, we can do some tricep dips and some bicep curls. And that's how we take care of our muscular system. Now, a concept I want to talk about, which is very important, is progressivity. So progressivity is the principle of gradually increasing the demands placed on your body during training, so that you can make small progresses in strength, endurance, and overall fitness. Our body adapts rather quickly to the stresses that we put on it. So if we always do the same workouts day after day, we will improve until we reach a plateau and then we're stuck there. To get further benefits, we need progressivity, which is making small, manageable increases to our training regime. You need to go slow, you cannot go too hard. If you ran 5 kilometers today, and this was the longest you've ever done, you cannot run 20 next week. You need to go maybe up to 6 and so on. If you bench pressed 50 kilos, next week you cannot bench press 100. You can do 51 or maybe 52. So the steps need to be small. And also, in the beginning, the increases will be quite fast. So from 5K, you might go to 7K and then go to 10K maybe. But once you have reached close to your maximum, so if you're running 30K, you cannot jump to 40. Typically, you're gonna go in smaller steps. And there are 4 principles how to achieve progressivity. You either increase the duration, so you were running for an hour, now you run for an hour and 5 minutes, an hour and 10 minutes. You increase the intensity, so basically you were running at 5 minutes per K, now you try to run at 450 per K. Or you were hiking up a steep hill with a 10 kilogram backpack, now you wear a 15 kilogram backpack. Which leads us to the next aspect, which is increasing the load. So either increasing the weight on your backpack, or if you're doing any resistance exercise, simply increasing the weight on your ball bear or on the resistance machine. And you can also vary the terrain. So if you were walking briskly by the riverside, now you can try go in the forest on uneven terrain that goes a bit up and down, and this also pushes your body into another level. Before I mentioned balance. Balance is very important for hiking and mountaineering because it enables us to stay upright, which helps with the load delivery from our torso to the lower legs. It also helps us to navigate uneven terrain, and it prevents falls. over challenging terrain. So try to include some exercises that specifically help with your balance. You can include these in your resistance training, so when working your muscular system. Incorporate things like single leg stand, single leg deadlifts, do the Bulgarian split squat, or you can do specific balance exercises such as doing some weight activity on the bozo ball or simply balancing on a balance pad. Also, you can get dynamic balance activities like lateral hops and so on. You see athletes using that kind of ladder spread out on the floor and then doing drills on it. Those help a lot with balance. And you can do something which is totally balance related, like slacklining. And the last aspect that I want to talk about is recovery. Recovery is key. So during all the aspects that I have been discussing, we have been challenging our body, telling our body, listen, you need to work hard and you need to work hard at a higher level. Get ready for it. But it's only during the rest and recovery that our body has the time to make the necessary changes to adapt for those harder loads. So, how do we include recovery in our training regime? The first one is really simple. Schedule 1 to 2 days per week of rest. Now, this rest could be passive rest, where you really do nothing, or it could be active rest. Active rest is where you do something that is light and helps. I would strongly suggest active recovery, but make sure that you keep it light. So what can you do during these active recovery days? You can stretch. Also, always stretch after each session, but then on rest days, have longer specific sessions for stretching. You can do yoga, which includes stretching, but then there's also the mental focus aspect about it. You can go to a professional massage, which really helps your body recover. But if you don't have the time and the money for that, you can use foam rolling or you can use a massage gun. Keep in mind, that the massage gun and the foam rolling can be used in combination with a professional massage. So you go to a massage once every 2 weeks, and on other days during the week, you use either the foam roller or the massage gun. And when I said active recovery, this includes things like gentle walking, going for a very easy walk and short walk, swimming at a very easy pace, and also make sure that you get adequate sleep. Sleep is crucial. Do not neglect sleep, especially if you are training very intensely. Sleep is very important. And also nutrition. Make sure you are eating healthy, you are eating enough carbohydrates, enough protein, and enough good fat. And that's it from my side. I hope you have found this interesting. If you have found it interesting, please put a like and subscribe to my channel. This helps me create more content for you to enjoy. See you in the next one.